So I have a confession. In an effort to be more environmentally conscious, I looked up how to recycle underwear and I found places to sell it, and I'm really weirded out now. I don't know what to do. So if you see it, buy my underwear.
Wait, we found a place called, what was it called? Sniffer.com?
Sniffer.com.
Sniffer.com. Go there. Look yourself.
I cannot unsee what I have seen.
Hello, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a wellness expert and body nerd, and we are business besties.
And bosses, running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about having a 6-figure income.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
And I'll be honest, a bunch of it totally sucks, but let's go get started.
It sucks, but we'll do it anyways. So, welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we are talking about how to manage your money like the badass that you already are.
And how to rewrite your perspective on money.
Yes. And we, we're so professional, you guys. Like we, for weeks and weeks, prepare these, what happens is I go, hey, what do you want to talk about today? And then we say, well, let's talk about this. And today's conversation, I want to pick your brain, Sybil, about money because being broke is a mindset. I think being broke is also a state of being, right? Like financially, it's true. You can look at my credit score. I'd be broke. But being broke is also, like I said, it's like a state of being. It is your mindset and how you feel about the situation. And they're not always one and the same thing. And I just got my EIDL loan, EIDL, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Right. I just got a buttload of money. And it's bringing up interesting things for me. So, I mean, those of you who've been listening, you know, I've had like rock bottom launches, zero money, had to bring on my momager to manage my life and help me pay my bills. Like I'll be fully transparent. And I've also had, this is also weird too, but like a history of getting bailed out by different people. Like I bought a lemon. And I got a lot of money from that lawsuit, which helped pay off credit card debt. Imagine that. And now this EIDL loan is helping to, manage some of the business debt that I've brought on as well. And so the story that I was really thinking about this morning was like, this time is different. And I don't know exactly why yet. And I don't think desperately is the right word, want it to be different because like I know in my bones that it's different. I just don't know why yet. Because for that same story of like I've been bailed out before and then ended up right in the same scenario of maxing out credit cards, being like underwater and having to figure that out. So that's kind of what I wanted to explore in today's conversation, and just like talk about money, because I can only imagine for many of us, this lockdown, you are either more abundant than you have ever been because of unemployment, or you're broke as a joke. And so really trying to just figure out, of what I can control, how can I improve my thoughts and energy really around it.
Right. I also think that a lot of people are having to confront money regardless. Right. Even if you have a bunch of it right now, you're confronting this notion of I have this money, but it's finite. Yeah. Right. Or I don't have any money and I'm concerned because maybe I haven't had this problem before. And I've been in a place where I could control the amount of money that I'm bringing in, because you can always, generally as people who work for ourselves, you can always work yourself harder out of this problem. And right now, literally, most of us can't work ourselves out of this problem. We are in a hole that like is not a solution, which congratulations. I want to tell most people, I believe right now are actually back to work. I think there's only a couple of states that right now are not back to work. So sorry, Oregon. I hear you.
Weird. But it also like, I know we've talked about this a little bit as well, but like where was I? Oh, we went to a restaurant and like all of a sudden, like now it's okay to eat there. And just like we went to another one. It feels weird. I still feel really weird about it. And like bars are opening up and movie theaters are opening up. And I was just like, I mean, I haven't watched everything on Netflix yet. Do I really need to go to the movie theater? I don't know.
Well, and yeah, I mean, this is all affecting, how we're doing business because people, like I said, are people going to come back? It's hard to know. So around money for people, we have to think about if you're rewriting your story and your story about money, you have to look at how you grew up, how money affects you and how you perceive your money. I know for me, I grew up fairly, white trash. We didn't ever have money. I grew up with a ton of debt. My dad was always starting businesses that were failing. And so that was the story that I grew up with. And I knew that I worked with a therapist. I worked with a holistic therapist who essentially was always like, she's like, we're going to rewrite how your brain works with this and how the energy around you works on this. Yeah. And the one of the modalities was called theta. And she would ask you questions and you would answer them. And depending on the answer, she'd be like, okay, well, that's your instinctive answer. But she was like, would you like to change your perspective on that? So you'd answer something like, she'd be like, so, do you feel like you need to be in service of something? And you'd be like, yeah, well, I'm doing this because of X, Y, and Z. And she'd be like, okay, well, are you happy with that? And you're like, no. And she goes, well, would you like to change your perspective on that? And you're like, yeah. And she goes, so you'd sit there and you'd think about all the things that are associated with that. And you'd write down all the things that are associated with that. And then she'd run energy on that. And the energy would run until it was completed. And to this day, I will be doing something sometimes and I'll be like, oh, whoa, I can feel that complete. To this day. And I haven't done that work in now a decade.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too. It's not like you read a book about money mindset and then you're done.
Yeah. It's a constant kind of battle and you'll catch yourself sometimes. Because I also did work and I tell people this all the time. I did it not even like woo-woo work because if you're listening, you're like, that seems woo-woo to me because it is. I did real work with a therapist and it's hardcore work where I grew up in a family of really like skeezy kind of cheapskates sometimes. And one of the things that this particular therapist had me do is she's like, you're going to pick up the bill for people for like 6 months. No questions asked. And she's like, you're just going to pick up the bill for people. Anytime you go out with somebody, you're just going to pick up the bill. No questions asked because you are from a family where literally you'd be the person who you were like, and you owe $3.02 when you would go out to dinner with people. Right. And that's how it was. And she goes, so to get over that, the need to do that, you're just going to pick up the bill for 6 months.
Did that make you sweat?
Oh, it made me, it'd be like, oh, this is the most horrifying thing. I hate this so much. And then at one point it just became like not a big deal and I didn't care. And to this day, I just pick up bills and it doesn't bother me. I don't care.
And as the receiver of that, it means so much. I'm always like, thank you so much, which also makes me like think of this idea too, if you aren't at this place, but that money is energy. The piece of paper has value because as a culture, we've decided that it does. It only matters as much as we allow it to matter. That's not to say that like, you don't need money. Obviously, you need to have money to put a roof over your head and food on your table and all of those things. But a friend sent me $5 over Venmo and I cried. I was just like, oh my God, like this means so much because it's not about the monetary value. It's really like what it means behind it. So exercises. And exercises like
the
that.
Value. Right. It's the intention that we put with it. Right. It's the intent, and there's so many things. So beyond that, like the money piece of that, I like to make sure I tell people that there's so many things that you can do that have to do around that kind of work, because some of the things that have to do with this, and we've talked about it before, are one of the other lessons that I learned, same kind of thing, we're asking for help. We've talked about this before, and this actually has to do with money because sometimes the value that we're putting on something is we're like, okay, well, I can't get this done because I don't have the money to get this done. Yeah. Right? I can't afford to get this done. So therefore it's not going to get done. Whereas if you actually just reach out to people and ask for help, somebody will help you. And so I think that especially as solo people, we don't ask for help for things. There's a reason why we work alone. We don't ask for people for help, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the pieces that same therapist had me do was she's like, you need to ask for help. So anytime you need something done, you just don't do it. And it's as simple as you drop something on the ground. If somebody's there, you're going to ask them to pick it up.
Whoa.
And I had to ask for 6 months to have everything done. I'd be like, can you go get me a glass of water? Can you pick that thing up off the floor? Anything that could be asked to be done, could you do it for me? If I needed to go to a doctor instead of driving myself, I'd ask somebody to do it for me. I need a ride. Can I get a ride? Like every single little thing. But you know what I learned in that time? Was it starts changing your brain chemistry. And that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about changing your brain chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what we're doing now is we're changing our brain chemistry around money.
Well, and like you've said, like all of your beliefs about money come from your family of origin and how you were brought up. And when you stop and really start to question all of your stories about money, like time is money or money doesn't grow on trees or even just like simple things like that, you have to question them first and then you can go back and rewrite them. And what you'll often find is that your stories will then differ from your families or even your partners. And that they challenge that sometimes, which is what I found.
So say one of those again. So say one of those like phrases again.
Like time is money.
Just say one. So time is money.
Time is money.
Right. So you could say, would you like to change your perspective on that?
Well, of course I would.
Right. So if you think to yourself, because we're going to give people a solid basis on this, right? And you can give yourself a real solid basis. So let's say that the belief system was that money did grow on trees, right? Let's say that you could actually just go out and pick that money off of trees. What would that be like? And this is how you change your brain chemistry. What would that be like? What would you do if money grew on trees? How would that change your life? Think about that.
Yeah, like how different would you treat it?
Right. Yeah. What would you do differently? And these are the exercises you would do. What would you do differently?
Interesting you said, because I'm thinking right now, there's this big avocado tree in our courtyard. And I'm like, what if instead of avocados, it grew money? Which, although according to Chipotle, it is already growing money because, guacamole is extra.
Because ready? Guacamole, blood diamonds.
Blood diamonds.
Avocados, blood diamonds.
I know. But I have this fear. Like, I know myself. I am a consumer. I am every marketer's dream. Like I see that ad on Facebook and I'm like, I do need this new shampoo with that salt spray. I need it right now. I need all the things. Like I hate that content marketing because it's always so damn good. And part of like this big pile of money that I have now, I'm afraid I'm going to spend it all. And then I'm going to be exactly where I was before because that is what I've done in the past. Like money burns a hole in my pocket. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I got to spend it because I've been waiting. I've been saving up money to buy that thing and now I have it. So I better buy it. And then shoot, where's the money? And I'm still in those same habits and patterns that I was before.
Right. Well, and I mean, okay. So then you think to yourself, okay, so how do I change that? How do I change my perspective on that?
Yeah.
Right. So for you, fundamentally, you have to accept the fact that maybe there's nothing wrong with having, I would say, first of all, accept the fact that that's who you are. Right. First of all, surrender to the idea that that's okay. Right.
I gotta just let that land on my heart.
Right?
Yeah.
To be okay with that. I'm okay with as a person who like I don't like to ask for help. I don't like to, right? And so I know that as soon as it happens, I'm going to be like, I don't want to ask for help. And then I'm like, okay, that's all right. You can not want to, but you're still going to. Okay, so you're going to be like, I want to buy those things. I'm that person who wants to do that. I want to buy all those things. I probably want to do this. And my natural tendency is to be into debt. But now I'm going to change that. Because sometimes just letting that happen and allowing it allows you to change it.
Yeah. And I think that desire to change also, because this is also, again, like what I was like reflecting on this morning of how I'm a different person. Like I actually know, like literally down to the dollar, because by the way, there's a coin shortage now, PS.
I did not know
Fun
that.
fact
Oh
I
my
read about in the
God.
news last night.
I'm hoarding all my coins. Oh my God. I've got a giant jar. It's me. I
Better
have
go
them.
spend them. I know. I got my Hello Kitty jar right here.
Maybe it'll be worth more money soon.
I know. But what I was going to say is that, I'm a different person now. Like I know where my money is. I know where it is going. I know how much is coming in. I also know how much I've spent. It's not a question anymore. And so actually, like before we hopped on too, I have this toothpaste, but I want a different toothpaste. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see like how much have we spent this month? And according to my budget, which, I know budget is like a super unsexy word and triggering for a lot of people, like call it whatever the hell you want. But I say, oh, I've already spent my money for this month on, extra stuff. So like, let's just put a pin in that. And next month is going to come around and then we can get it then. Like, I'm not going to die if I don't have the toothpaste from Lush that makes me break out, but it makes my teeth so clean.
Stop that toothpaste. Stop it now. So one of the other things that I've learned personally for me with budget, and everybody, guys, I don't understand the triggering words for budget. Like it's just money that has to come in and come out. It's just money. Money is just money.
So I had a very emotional and visceral and shame-filled reaction around money and debt for a very long time.
Yeah.
So budget, I was like, oh my God, I can't. I'm so bad with numbers. That was another story.
So let's talk. So I'm sure that there are other people out there who kind of feel this way, and I don't understand it. So kind of talk about that for a second. Sure.
Well, I mean, talk about too, like stories. I mean, literally. So I started working when I was like, as soon as I could babysit and people would trust me with their kids, I was working. And I would I would pick something that I wanted to buy, like a big ticket item, and then I would work and I would get it, and then I'd have that thing, and then I'd want the next thing. And so literally money would come in and I would spend it as soon as I reached that benchmark. I think my mom forced me to save stuff. And we've also talked a lot about this because she is very diligent with her money, to the point where I would like, even now I'm like, Mom, you're okay. Like you don't need to save every dollar and cent. Like you're not eating top ramen. Like you're okay. So we have very different brains and the ways we think and all this stuff. So she was like trying to force me to like save money and do things. I was like, no, I cannot.
So do you think so? Because I feel that there are different different personalities to money, right? There are people who are more of the like I save and I'm a saver and a budgeter and a squirreler, and then there are the people who are like woo. And like, I don't even know, like, it's like, once I get that check, it is gone.
Right.
And I don't know where that money went and it does not matter.
Well, see, so I was the woohoo girl, and it ended me up, like we're talking close to 6 figures of debt. Okay, you guys, like all the money I want to make, I've already spent.
But I do feel that there's like an in-between space.
Yes. So like budgeting was always like this thing I didn't understand. And I had this story of like, I don't know numbers. So I use that as an excuse as to why I was where I was, like, well, I'm bad with numbers. I don't need to know. And it's not like I became the person who does my accounting and bookkeeping and who literally has a spreadsheet of, my budget. And I know exactly how much money I have to spend every month. Like that person didn't arrive overnight. Like this has been a very long year, 18 months, like in process. And it actually started with my business, and I wanted to be a better business owner and to really level up all of that. I had to figure this out. I had to know my numbers. I had to know how much money I actually had coming in and not just buy random software that I can't really afford. So I started with that. I remember like the first spreadsheet or like budget I made was for an event. And, we talked about this. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all the things I want to include in this event. And this is how much it costs, per person. How much is the ticket price, instead of just like picking a number out of the air based on how it feels. And then all of these, I'm like, oh, and then you told me to get
right, because I remember walking through this and being like, that's not nearly enough money, and those are going to be wrong.
Yeah. But then, accounting software and like trying to figure that out and really like be serious about that. And this budget spreadsheet, literally, you guys, like 3 months ago. Like, I'm talking all high and mighty, like 3 months ago I started. So there's no shame. You can start anywhere.
I'm going to come from the other side of that. So guys, straight up, I run a business. I run a very successful business, and I don't run on a budget like that. Like, not even, I've never used a budget spreadsheet, not in my entire life. Right. Not ever. But that's not to say that I don't run my numbers, because I super do. But I have like an understanding of like what comes in and comes out. And I 100% know, like, I just have I know where the money is going at all times. So depending on what your like brain availability is, depends on what you're able to do. And there have been times where I'm running super lean, and I'm like, right now I'm like running crazy lean. And so I'm running my numbers every freaking day. And although I don't have like a spreadsheet where I'm sticking stuff in, I literally am like, I know that I have this much money to be doing whatever. But I found for my own business, and you might find for yourself, Alex, at some point, because this is something new for you, right? This budget, like this hardcore budgeting thing, because I've been there, where I kind of kept like a very super tight ship. For me, I always think of budget as the analogy that I have is a very good analogy by somebody else. And I can't remember who gave it to me, but they said, holding money is like holding sand in your hand.
Yes.
If you hold it too tightly, it all falls out. You have to kind of cuddle it, right?
Yeah. But even that is not coming from a place of abundance.
That's right.
Because abundance is trusting that no matter, I may spend this
it will always just come.
And yeah, it's always going to come. There is no time where money stops flowing my way.
Right. Which is why I had to start backing off of like paying such close attention to my numbers. Like I had to stop like getting so deep in them, but understand that when we talk about abundance, and that's why when we're talking like in these deep numbers, when we're talking about this abundance, the idea when people are like, I just kind of like let it flow and like, it'll just come. I find that that's really hard, because then you actually can't make good decisions for your business.
Yeah.
And you can't make good decisions for your life, because you can't make these educated decisions. Right. Yeah. And I think that's where like that give and take, when you're like this idea of abundance, it's hard.
It's totally hard. But I will say too, like I trust and know that the flow is coming my way, and it has happened like all the time, especially in these last couple months. But for me, keeping track of my numbers is a way to take the emotion out of it.
That is where we're going.
Yeah.
Because I know that these are hard conversations, guys. These are hard conversations. So if you are sitting around being like, I am having trouble listening, I'm tapping out, like my brain like goes away, understand that this is what happens when you are listening to something that is hard to hear, that maybe your soul or your heart is having trouble like assimilating. Right. This is what happens. You kind of like zone out a little bit, because it's not that it's boring. It's actually that you're having trouble like hearing what you're hearing. You're hearing with, a different part of you. So I find that when I first started understanding the idea that I could let go, and we're asking people to let go of this idea that you have control over everything in your life, which we've talked about surrender before in other episodes. You have control over all the money in your life, right? If you let go, the money will just come in. And that's what Alex is saying, right? You started out with speaking being like, I have been bailed out, right? You said the words bailed out. And I would say, instead of using the words bailed out, and I feel that strongly that the terms that we use matter.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say that instead of being bailed out, which is kind of negative.
I know,
right?
but I said it because that's what I feel like.
Right. But like, what if you change that perspective? So in the future, you're not going to be bailed out. You're going to be empowered by the money that comes into your life.
Yeah. Well, and I also I know what it feels like to get that $5 for coffee. And you're like,
right.
oh my God, it feels so good. And I was talking about this with my mom yesterday. I was like, I feel like part of this lesson for me is to know like what difference it can make so that I can be that person for somebody else, and I don't know when it's going to happen, but definitely a goal for me is to be able to support my parents financially so that they don't have to worry about it at all. And it's like not even a stretch. It's like literally like no skin off my back to just like take care of them in the way that they've always done for me. And I feel like here's like another metaphor-ish, or I guess story. So one of my first cars was a 1984, I believe, Mercedes-Benz diesel with no air conditioning. If you've ever been into Los Angeles, it's the desert, essentially. And I remember driving home from work. I worked part-time in a physical therapy clinic and taught yoga outside of that. It was a race to get home before I succumbed to heat stroke because it was so hot in my car. And then when I saved up all my money and I bought my first car, that air conditioning was so sweet and so good. And I never took it for granted because I knew what it was like to be without it. And so I feel like that's part of this too, is like the universe knows that as, even as a highly sensitive person, that I have to like as close as I can walk in your shoes. So I know what it's like to do the return later down the line. Yeah. So I think that's part of my lesson for myself is like, just because I also know if like $1 million landed in my lap right now, like I'm more ready now than I was 6 months ago. Like I would have, money doesn't solve your emotional problem at all. No. Like there's a reason why lottery winners just end up where they were before.
It's true. It's true. So if people were doing the work, what would you have them do? Because you've done some deep work on this.
Yeah. I have an idea right away. And actually I want to go back and do this again. Write a letter to money.
Okay. That's a good one.
That will be very revealing. Dear money. And then just start writing. I remember, so there's a book and we'll share it in the show notes called You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. It's one of my favorite books. I think I actually am going to read it again. I've read it like 4 times already. And that's one of the exercises that she talks about.
Yeah, she's good exercise. That book has amazing exercises, by the way. Lots of good exercises in that book.
Every chapter.
Yeah.
And the first time I did it, I was like, dear money, I'm afraid of you.
Oh my God.
No wonder I can't make any money if I'm literally afraid of the thing that I desire. Right. It's like, you can't catch a dog if you're like, oh my God, stay away from me. And then you're chasing after it. Like money.
That's every nerd. That's every nerd with girls, by the way.
I know.
Dear girls, I'm afraid of you.
I'm afraid of you, but please be my friend. I don't know about that, but I would say that that's a great place to start. And that's one, like the book is literally, it's that green one right there. It's calling me. And I feel compelled to write that letter and just see what comes up. Cause a lot of these stories and like, you're saying like change your perspective. It's like subconscious to a point.
Yeah.
You have to pull it out. And sometimes that's like a really easy, great way to, it's not pretty. Let's just be real, but important to do it.
That is, and I think it's that subconscious thing, that it is subconscious, that it is deep inside of you, that it is shaping what you're doing. And we've talked about selling before, and this idea of like your story and the abundance and coming into your life, it is shaping so much of what you do as a solopreneur. It's shaping how you sell things. It's shaping how you talk to your clients, how you bring wealth into your life. It's shaping how you continue to grow your business and be successful in it. Yeah. It shapes your relationship with the people around you. I know that a lot of, what they say about relationships is that there are 3 things that destroy like relationships, right? It's like religion, money, and I can't remember the last one. It's like schooling or something, like how your kids are schooled, I think. And you know.
So true. Those are all third rail topics.
Right. And so one of the things that I recommend to people all the time is that, you talk to a financial planner and financial advisor. If you don't know what you're doing, I mean, I know what I'm doing and I still have a financial advisor because like they will help you understand money better when you are struggling.
And it's almost like a neutral third party. Like we've talked about, business besties. We're able to bounce ideas off of one another. And because I know your business, I'm able to, help you see things. And the same for me. You help me see things that I didn't think of before.
So I come to you and I say, hey, I need help. I need this idea. And you're like, okay. And you're like, maybe you should look at it from this side instead.
Yeah.
Or this side.
And that was one of the things my momager, she's basically Kris Kardashian. We started having weekly phone calls back in November. And just to have somebody to be like, hey, so, I'm having this influx of money come in. I'm thinking I want to do this, this, and this. Like, what do you think? And it's not that they're making decisions for me, but to be able to verbalize it and have a conversation with somebody who knows in what capacity they're showing up as. It's kind of different to like drop that on just a friend or whatever, but to like really have that accountability with somebody to have these regular conversations.
Right. Well, and I have a financial planner who I really, really, really trust. I really love. And one of the things he says, and I appreciate all the time, is he's like, my job is to help you not die rich, but die with wealth. Right. And I really always appreciate that because he's like, if you want to die rich, I can do that, but I want you to die with wealth. And so
what's the difference?
So for him, it's like, do you want to take what you have and like travel the world with it? I'm here for you. Do you want to have a wealth of information? Do you want to leave some kind of, fund for people? Do you want to, make sure that when you're dead, you have absolutely nothing left, but that you've lived a wonderful life? Do you want to make sure that you have a sanctuary for animals? Whatever it is, what do you want to live? How do you want to like use whatever you have? He's like, I'm here for that. He never judges what you're doing. I've gone to him sometimes and he's like, that's a crazy idea. Okay, let's make that happen. And he'll sometimes be like, okay, well, I'm going to ask you some questions and I'm going to ask you pointed questions. And if you're going to answer them, and if you still want to do it after I ask those questions, let's do this thing. But that's what he does. And I'll be like, okay, ask me the questions. And sometimes I'll be like, these are very good questions. And I'm going to think about whether I still want to do this. Right.
When did you start working with this person? Because that's something I've always wondered, because I'm like, oh, but I have too much debt. It's not worth it. Like at what point?
I gave him $500. That's all I had when I first started with him. I was a brand new esthetician. I had only been an esthetician for 6 months. I had $500. I gave him $500 to start with. That's it. I paid him a fee annually. I think it was like, at the time, I think it was like $230 for me annually to just pay for him to just help me like with my money. And, now I pay him a lot more money because I do a lot more things with him. But, we've made a lot more money together, and you have to have somebody you trust, get good referrals.
Yeah. Also, he's, we have a person we work with who we bought life insurance through, and he's always trying to sell us more life insurance. That's not the type of person that you want.
Mine has gotten me on a life insurance plan, but it's not how we started.
Yeah.
At some point in time, he looked at me and he's like, hey, FYI, you might decide you want a life insurance plan. And then at one point he's like, hey, by the way, if you die, nobody cares. I'm taking you off a life insurance plan. We are going to put your man on a life insurance plan, though, because if he dies, he actually makes money.
Right.
And so you might need money if he's dead. But if you're dead, nobody cares because your money, like you now make enough money that like it's in a trust. It's fine.
Right.
And he's making enough money that he doesn't need your money.
Right.
So he actually took me off of life insurance. Because it didn't matter.
And life insurance also is not that expensive.
It's not. I'm on, though, unemployment insurance in case like I was injured.
Right.
Now, the pandemics don't count, but because nobody plans for pandemics. But if I had been injured and I couldn't work, I have that kind of insurance.
What is this person's title?
So he is a financial planner. He works with Ameriprise Financial, which is under American Express. So it's a real live company. So make sure you go find somebody who's like under maybe a real live company or something. And I got him as a referral from another esthetician, and she was just like, hey, he works for my church. I really like him. I'm like, well, I'll go meet him. And most times they give like a free consult.
Yeah.
When I first started, it was like a flat fee for the year. And he was just like, I'll manage some funds and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I trusted him because I liked him and I trust my gut. I dug him. At some point, I'd like to get him on to talk to our group. And he said he would because I really liked him.
Yeah, I got questions.
Yeah. And I've been very pleased with him. He did move over to, when I started making enough money, he did move over to a percentage, which a lot of people will tell you not to go with percentages. They're like, listen, they should just make a flat fee for like, their hourly or whatever. But for me, I don't mind a percentage because as far as I'm concerned, if you make me a bunch of money, you deserve to make percentage on my money.
I also just want to mention too, we're talking about budgeting and this and that and saving. One of the things I do now is I save percentages because fixed fees always made me nervous because I was like, well, what if I don't have the money for that fixed fee? But another resource is Profit First.
Yes.
You've read the
great
book,
one.
right?
Yeah, Profit First. So I just, I don't believe in personally, I don't believe in every tenet from Profit First, but a lot of it is a great place to start. And if for business owners who are like, I don't know what to do, it is a great book to read.
Yes. Yeah. No, that was a huge thing. Yeah,
it'll get you. If you're like, I don't know, read it. I think everyone should read it.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of it that's just like, you're like, like I read it and I was like, people aren't doing this. Wait, what?
No. So Profit First, if you don't know, I have a spreadsheet that, if this is the money that I brought in this month, this percentage goes to taxes. This goes to, paying team members when I had team members. This goes to pay myself. He's really about the pay yourself first. And probably to the chagrin of my accountant, I opened more accounts to follow Profit First. But for me, the big plate and seeing everything on the big plate was overwhelming. So I personally like to have, I like smaller accounts.
I also, by the way, I like buckets. Alex and I are the same way. We like buckets. Yeah. I like little tiny buckets. And if you're looking for buckets, Smarty Pig is a really good place to keep buckets it's not hard to keep little tiny buckets. Their little savings account buckets are really easy. So Smarty Pig is really easy.
15 savings accounts in my Ally account.
So Ally is a really good one to do that too. Ally just recently allowed you to do that. Otherwise they weren't before. But also I have Ally. I didn't know you had Ally too. So Ally does that as well. But if you don't want to move to Ally, Smarty Pig is very easy as well. I used Smarty Pig for years. So, and they're cute. It's got a little pink pig on it. It's really easy. We'll put links in the show notes. So
Smarty Pig. What was the other? Oh, I mean, you guys just Google it. Come on.
Yeah. Ally is great also because they don't, you get money for using ATMs. They give you is it $10?
No, you get any ATM fees refunded.
No, up to a certain amount of money. Read your fine print.
$10 a month.
I think it's $10 a month. It's a certain amount of money, except internationally.
Oh, well.
Sorry. Except internationally. Read your fine print.
I didn't know.
Read your fine print.
But I think, Profit First, you are a badass at making money. Also, and I've talked about this before as far as the journey goes, it all really boils down to you believing that you are worthy enough of wealth, of money, of success. And if I started with how you are a badass at making money. And what I really should have started with, which I read, 80 books later, was, now I'm totally blanking on the name. She's the queen of self-help books. And she wrote the very first one.
Is it behind you?
It is. Let me go check.
Wait. I'm sure it's sitting behind you.
It is. It totally is. Where is it? No, I can't find it.
Alex, we will put it in the show notes regardless.
Dang it. I thought it was right there. I think I loaned it out. It was really good. Well, I'll think of it later. I know I've mentioned it before. This is very sad.
I'm sure we have. It's White Book.
You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
That's it. I'm I know the one you're talking about, and I know the cover.
Yep. I know. That's why I was really mad. So sorry. If you weren't watching this, you have no idea what's going on. But I just,
say it again.
You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay was
Yes.
so it's a bunch of journaling and a lot of affirmations. And there's even if you buy the newer edition, a bunch of information of like, if your liver hurts, it's because you need to heal this emotional wound. It solved. So, I mean, it was just like, oh, duh, for so many things, like, again, if you don't think that you are worthy enough right now for the wealth, for the success, for what you think might be a crazy dream, if you don't think you're good enough, it's never going to happen.
That's right. And you might think that this is like woo woo, but like at the end of the day, mind over matter. It's been proven scientifically over and over again, mind over matter.
Well, the placebo effect is completely a thing.
Mind over matter. What half of our skincare crap is mind over matter. Like when you can't solve a problem with somebody, you have to just keep telling them it's going to be solved, and then it probably will be, because it's so much of it is winds up being that last little bit is because of their mind. It's emotional issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Although Louise Hay would say she'll tell you if you skin issues, it was in there.
It's probably emotional.
I know. I need to find the book. I'm like bothered. It's not on my bookshelf. I don't remember where I sent it.
That one is not one that you loaned to me. Alex has been loaning me a bunch of books, and I've been going through them, and they've been very helpful. And we'll have to have conversations about that soon. So.
Oh yeah, I got another good one.
Oh yeah. So I think we've actually done a pretty good job on abundance. It's been a little bit of a winding path, guys, but these are like weird, windy path, tricky waters kind of things when you talk about them.
But it's the emotional and the practical.
It's true. It's true. Because it comes down to, you need to think about them, take it in, believe that it's true, start changing your chemistry of your brain, start changing your heart, talk to other people that you trust about it. Once again, believe, because after you've done all that, then believe again that it can change. Because it's layered. It's so deep and layered. You think that you've done the work, and then it's like a freaking onion. You're like, oh my God, I found more garbage.
Yeah. Well, here, I have another idea about this. So a very dear friend of mine wanted to become like a foster to adopt situation. And you may have heard, especially like the self-help world, is like you have to be the person that you want to become. Like you emotionally and mentally, you have to already be that person. And I was really like struggling. I was like, I don't get it. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do I be a person who is abundant and wealthy if like I'm broke right now? I don't get that. So my friend who was entering into the process to foster to adopt, before they would even consider putting her in the queue, she had to have the room ready. She had to have the child safety locks on. She had to have the car seat just sitting there ready to go. She had to become the person who already had everything in place before the kid was placed. And so similar for us, and for me, like I had to get all of these issues solved so that if tomorrow $10 million landed in my lap, I wouldn't lose my mind.
Yeah.
So think of it that way. What for you right now and your business is getting the car seat and getting the room ready and getting the child locks and putting the knives away? Like, what does that look like for you and your business? And how can you take one step today to get closer to that?
That's a good one. I like it. So everybody, your homework is I would say write a list of 5 things. Start with the 1.
Oh, of course. Yes. Start with the 1. Write your letter to money and then start with the 1.
And then start with the 1, right?
Absolutely.
Because I'm hoping that the 1 will actually be pretty easy. Start with the 1 that's easiest. Be like, hey, I'm going to do the easiest one, knowing that I'm working my way to the harder one, right? Because some of these are going to be easier. You're like, oh, I can do that. Okay, I can do that. Right? Like, don't start with a budget. It's really hard.
Oh,
budget,
God. No.
The budget will break you. Don't start there. You're like, I'm going to make a budget. You're like, you're going to break yourself. Like, don't start there.
No. Do not. I tried. Ask me how that worked.
No, I'm telling you, don't do it. You'll break yourself. You're like, oh, Jesus. Also, I'm going to say straight up, if you're going to do a budget, have a friend with you to have a conversation with at the same time, or somebody who kind of like can support you with maybe like a beverage or like something, right?
Yes, yes. Actually, I will share. His name is Avram Myers. He has this thing called the magic number, and he does like actually, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I think he does like financial coaching or something. But his training, the way he talks about it, he's like, if you feel like you get all this money, it just goes poof and it disappears, like the magic number will help you. And it's a way to like think about budgeting and just like dip a toe in the water without it being super overwhelming. So I'm going to put that down into the description as well, because that was super helpful. And while
Awesome.
I don't still do that because I needed more work, my husband does it now. And so he's like, oh, let's get that tomorrow. My magic number won't support it. And I was like, wait, what? So I'll share that in the show notes for you guys too.
Awesome. Dig it. Yeah. So, I mean, and you can start fluffy and easy, right? Mm-hmm. Starting somewhere and getting somewhere deeper is always fine, mm-hmm. right? It's just a start, and you know that you can go farther as you need to. But we're going to continue to sit and ask you, like, what are your numbers? How's that going? You run your numbers, because these are all the important things. And then it'll be like, how are you doing? Think about abundance. These are all things that are continue to come up. And especially now as the world is going mad and stuff is getting bleak at times, there's nothing like supporting yourself and knowing like your insides are right.
Mm-hmm. It's so true.
Yeah.
So,
all right, guys,
keep us posted. Let us know how it's going. Hit us up on the socials, at Hala from Mala, at Your Skin Fitness Expert, at Skinfessional. Let us know how much you want to barf from listening to this episode.
God. Please don't barf. Though, do write us a review, because we totally need reviews for our podcast right now. Yes, and subscribe, because apparently there's only 7 of you or something.
No, please.
We're downloading it, so please just like subscribe wherever the heck that is. Just be like, subscribe.
Tap, tap. Tap, tap.
Yeah, it takes a second, apparently.
Okay. Or you can call us on the Skinfessional box at sniffer. No, just kidding.
Oh my God, I totally want you to call us on the Skinfessional box and tell us about sniffing. All about the sniffing.
Let me know how I can recycle my underwear, please.
Our phone number is 818-473-5277. And I appreciate everyone who got back to me when I asked about trademark. We do have our trademark lawyer. She's coming. She's been rescheduled. So if you still have additional questions, send them my way.
Yes. Yes, yes.
So until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.